Hi neighbor, I'm Nathan with Hafer Homes, and here's your weekly real estate market update for Lynchburg, Virginia and the surrounding area. We'll be looking at inventory, market projections, interest rates, home values, and more. Currently, there are 889 homes on the market, which is a slight increase from last week. Of those, new listings make up 99 homes, which is up 6% for new listings. This week, there were 20 homes that came back onto the market, which is a large increase of 67%. We're still seeing inventory rise for over previous years, which means we're heading into a balanced market where neither the buyer nor the seller have advantage over the other party. And I think we can all agree that we're ready for that. But unfortunately, times of lower interest rates tend to be a seller's market, so the pendulum may swing back that way in the second quarter of 2026. Currently, we have about 102 more homes for sale than we did in November 2024, but I expect that number to decrease as the month is still young. The price range selling the fastest are those in the 100,000 range, but they're getting fewer and fewer, currently making up only about 15% of the market. And they're also mostly fixer-uppers and may not qualify for financing. But here's a fun fact. There are more million-dollar properties in our area than there are 900 and 800,000 combined. Overall, we're seeing new listings decline, which is seasonally normal, and we're seeing the inventory plateau, pointing to a typical winter market here in the Lynchburg area. The most expensive home sold this week was 610 Surfside Drive in Manita, listed by Kendra Porter of Virginia Realty Group, and it sold for $2,570,000 in 41 days. Congrats, Kendra. Days on market increased 3% this week, making the average 38 days and the median 17 days. The biggest indicator of the slow season in the real estate are the solds and the pendings. This week, the number of closings decreased by 4% to 85. Pending sales took a massive hit of 28%, meaning there are only currently 75 homes that are currently ratified. Home values are on the rise, but we're seeing the typical seasonal cuts. 86 homes reduced their price, which is actually 8% less than last week. We also saw 3 price increases this week as well. The median home value year over year increased by 2.9% to $303,400. And if you make adjustments in the 2023 U.S. Census to include people likely to buy a home, the median home in our area has a front-end ratio of about 26% of the median household income. So we're looking pretty good there. Historically, homes in our area appreciate an average of 5% annually, so we're well below the average for recent years, but that's also because of some spikes. Homes are appreciating the same rate as the CPI index, so homes are not going down in value, but there's currently a seasonal dip. The median rent charge in our area for a 3-bedroom home is sitting at $1,633 for the quarter, which is slightly down from the third quarter and the lowest we've seen since 2023. This indicates that the average renter with a 30-year conventional mortgage at the current national average and 3% down could afford a $296,500 home. If you need a lender recommendation, just give me a call. On that note, according to Mortgage News Daily, the national averages for interest rates were stagnant amongst the government shutdown. That's because investors lack the data needed to expect what the feds are going to do next. The 15-year conventional mortgage went up to 5.5% from 5.4%. 30-year conventional went up 6.1% to 6.2%. FHA and VA, they stayed pretty much the same, around 6%. Overall, interest rates are between the 50-year and the 30-year medians. For financing trends, we saw a large increase in cash purchases this week, making up 22.9% of the on-market purchases, but keep in mind that doesn't include the off-market sales, so it's likely cash purchases could be about twice that. 48% of buyers were conventional, 16.8% of all sales were FHA, 9.5% were military heroes using the VA mortgage program, and 2.7% were USDA buyers, which is usable only in rural areas outside the city limits. Lastly, seller financing made up of less than 0.2% of sales, which is good because seller financing is extremely risky to buyers. Honestly, that should be zero because it's just such a gamble. Thanks for tuning in to this week's market update. If you found this helpful, consider subscribing and sharing this with someone who's keeping an eye on the market. And if you'd like to talk through what these numbers mean for you and your goals, you can call me at 434-944-6982. I'm Nathan Hafer with Hafer Homes. Live, dream, own.